life is going to change, but more important, your son's life is going to change forever. America will never be the same after September 11, 2001.
He's on almost everyone's list of the most likely suspects for today's attacks.
The alleged mastermind, America's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden.
Meanwhile, Osama bin Laden is a name that we have been hearing all day long.
They now believe that bin Laden was responsible.
They are now, and I'm quoting here, 90% certain.
Somebody provided the logistical support for this operation, and clearly the only person.
Bin Laden comes to mind right away, Mr. Gunnar.
Indeed, he certainly does. Bin Laden.
This is his M.O.
We have to look to the Middle East. We have to look to Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Within hours of the attacks on the Trade Center, there seemed to be one suspect, billionaire terrorist Osama bin Laden, and his band of ragtag extremists Al-Qaeda were to blame. They successfully struck the #1 military power in the world in an unprecedented fashion. America would never be the same. The Patriot Acts, Homeland Security, domestic wiretapping and surveillance, the loss of civil liberties, all in order to fight terror and protect us here at home. Is Osama bin Laden really responsible for the attacks of September 11th? Did you know the FBI does not list 9/11 as one of bin Laden's crimes? Why not? According to Rex Toon, Chief of Investigative Publicity for the FBI, it is because there is no hard evidence linking bin Laden to the attacks. If that is the case, how could the 9/11 Commission conclude it was the work of 19 radical Muslims from the Middle East, under the direction of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Osama bin Laden? Bin Laden has been universally blamed for 9/11. But if one takes a closer look at the available evidence, it points to a much darker power.
And then out of that, we're going to have a war on terror, and it's just going to go on and on.
Right. An endless war on terror without any real enemy. That you can never, so you can never define a winner.
And did he say that it's going to be perfect because you can't define an enemy? It just goes
Yeah,
on?
because you can't define a winner. There's no one to beat, so it goes on and on forever. And they can do whatever they want. They scare the hell out of the American public. Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. But the truth has to come out. That's why I'm doing this interview. But the war on terror, it's a joke, you know. And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11, because that's where the war on terror emanates from. That's where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
July 4th, 2001. Osama bin Laden, wanted by the United States since 1998, receives medical attention at the American hospital in Dubai, where he is visited by a local chief of the CIA.
That Osama bin Laden's code name in the CIA was Tim Osman. That he was a CIA asset trained in the 1970s.
I ran across a couple of people with ties to the American government that told me another story. That the CIA was recruiting fighters for the Afghan war against the then Soviets, and that their asset, Osama bin Laden, was working with them.
An exclusive interview with Newsweek, the CIA field commander in Tora Bora during the invasion, Gary Burnson, broke his silence. He explained that his intelligence operatives had tracked bin Laden to Tora Bora.
At various points in time, they did have, to my understanding, definitive intelligence as to his general location within Tora Bora. I can't go into detail as to the actual sources of the intelligence and the collection methods because those remain classified. However, we had Osama bin Laden essentially cornered in Tora Bora, and for whatever reasons, we did not do what was necessary in order to ensure that he did not escape.
Of course we're after Saddam Hussein, bin Laden. He's isolated.
There is also no evidence that bin Laden used the term Al-Qaeda to refer to the name of a group until after September the 11th, when he realized that this was the term the Americans had given him.
Osama bin Laden was directly supplied by the U.S., who were selling his men arms at reduced rates.
But here's what bin Laden himself said 5 days and then was at 17 days after 9/11. He said, "I stress that I have not carried out this act, which appears to have been carried out by individuals with their own motivation." And then on the 28th of September, 17 days after 9/11, I have already said I am not involved in the 11 September attacks. Why do we all think that he's responsible? Did you know that he denied this?
On December 14th, 2001, the government released a tape, allegedly of bin Laden confessing to the attacks of September 11th, which they claimed to find in a house in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Except there's a number of things wrong with this tape. 1. The tape itself is of very poor quality. And 2. The man in the video looks and acts nothing like bin Laden. According to the FBI's website, Osama is left-handed. Yet, in this video, he's writing a note with his right hand. Compare this video to 4 other pictures of bin Laden. Does anybody else see a problem here?
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
It is May 2nd, 2011. Yesterday, May Day, May 1st, President Obama addressed the nation late Sunday evening to say that just hours before, Osama bin Laden had been killed in the middle of a major populated city in a palace compound. My friends, this is a complete and total hoax, and we predicted with total precision, with inside sources, going back more than 8 years ago, exactly what would happen.
Well, according to you and another number of analysts, bin Laden has been dead for quite some time already. If that were true, why would the U.S. wait till now to announce his death?
His death has been announced a number of times at any rate, and I don't see why we should take this pronouncement any more seriously than any of the previous pronouncements, especially considering the complete and utter lack of evidence that has so far been produced to show that Osama bin Laden or anyone resembling that description was actually killed yesterday. So I see this more as a ploy of the CIA getting rid of one of their old assets, whether he actually did die yesterday or he's been dead for years or whatever the case may be. This is simply discarding a war on terror boogeyman who's no longer scaring the populace. There's certainly no doubt that this is going to give a marked boost to Obama as people rally around the flag, as they usually do in circumstances like this.
I don't understand why everybody is celebrating when our great ally is dead. I mean, we supported bin Laden in Serbia and Kosovo in the 90s. We supported bin Laden in the 80s. He's been very helpful to the US military-industrial complex in the wanton slaughter of innocent people in broken-back third-world countries. And those people that are now celebrating his death are tending to forget that great contribution that Osama bin Laden made as an ally to the US military-industrial complex. So I'm baffled as to why people are happy that he's dead when he's been of such great use over the past 3 decades.
The Western media knows so little about Islam that they think dumping a corpse in the ocean is somehow considered a proper Islamic burial?
And before the end of the day, his remains were aboard the U.S. aircraft carrier Carl Vinson, where U.S. officials say he was given a proper Muslim burial at sea.
So with no such thing as a Muslim burial at sea, Fox News is upset because they think bin Laden was buried respectfully.
You can't see the body, it's been thrown in the ocean. But we don't get to have the corpse, do we? No, we don't. It's so convenient. After we first in 2002, from White House sources, 2 of them secret, 1 of them public, Steve Pachenik, former deputy under Kissinger who knew bin Laden, coming out and saying it was all fake, he was frozen, that they would roll it out.
And then you've got this massive fake patriotic fervor today with these George Washington University College kids that just miraculously turned up on the White House lawn minutes after the announcement.
With crisp American flags.
And it's all about terror fear-mongering. Now you've got the increased bag patrols in the metro, the subway station.
Oh yeah, the war on terror is not ending. People are like, can I not have you grab my crotch? Can I have shampoo? And they're like, oh no. WikiLeaks, Al-Qaeda to unleash nuclear hellstorm of Osama killed. Son, worst is yet to come.
It's about killing terrorist leaders to then provoke more terrorist attacks, which is exactly now what they're telling us will happen. The nation gets to have this big fake pep rally over Osama bin Laden's iced corpse being thawed out 10 years after he's already died.
Something big's coming. And folks, this bin Laden thing only signifies the beginning. They could be getting a nuke ready right now. I mean, to kill 1 million Americans. And then the public is going to fall down and worship the TSA. They're going to worship the Federal Reserve. They're going to worship it all.
The reaction to these celebrations was mixed. Many people wanted to join in them. Others were appalled and felt that it was obscene